I am Neelam, and I'm delighted to be your host for today's discussion. Our topic for today is the role of coaching and mentorship in high potential growth. To discuss on this topic, we have two distinguished speakers and subject matter experts, Nitin Girdhar and Abhishek Joshi. Nitin is the Regional HR Director, Greater Asia at IFF, as a seasoned HR leader with over 16 years of experience across FMCG, food, consumer durables, MNC, Indian companies, and startups. Abhishek is a seasoned Gallup Global Strength Coach and practice head with a rich background of talent management and organizational development. He has established strength based leadership practice within numerous organizations, ranging from large scale companies to growth stage organizations. Welcome, Nitin and Abhishek. It's a pleasure to have you both here.
Thank you, Neelam.
Thank you.
Thank,
Thank you, Neelam. Pleasure is
thank
all
you.
mine. This topic
Yeah,
is very close to my heart, so happy to be part of this discussion.
thank you. Thank you, Nitin. So let me open the discussion with very fundamental, very basic. Let's start with the very fundamentals of what does high potential mean in today's corporate landscape and how do you define and identify high potential employees? So this question is for both of you. Anyone can choose to answer.
Nitin, please.
I can go first, Abhishek,
Please, please.
if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
Nitin. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, great question, Neelam. Actually, with the as the organizations value their talent so much today, there is always a need to distinguish and differentiate between the talent on the basis of potential. I know earlier we used to focus a lot on only on performance rating, but last decade has seen another scale added to that evaluation, which is potential. To me, if I'm using 3 point scale of low, medium, high, I would say a low potential individual is somebody who's very good or fit for the current role, may not have the scope of any promotions in the organization. Medium, I would say one level definitely, and high potential, as you rightly as the name suggests, is somebody where to whom the whole organization looks up to, like a leader, like a future leader. So minimum of a two-level jump is possible, and in an organization like IFF, which is a global organization, we always look out for people who could be our global leader and be like on the executive committee to make those strategic decisions one day. So we see the spark, and that's where we identify them as high potential. Abhishek.
Thank you, Nitin. So I completely agree. So the traditional metrics they talked about performance, looking at as one of the key parameters of looking at the potential. Of course, performance is one. So let's say when we look at a high potential, so one is knowledge and skills and competence which is required to do that job. That's a very fundamental aspect to look at high potential. But in new age, in this era, more than knowledge and skills, because when you hire people, when you have people in your team, it is given that they have knowledge and skills, and there will be a little bit gap in knowledge and skill. That's perfectly fine. But when we look at high potential, we always look at who are those people who have certain innate talents, potential. For example, let's say how many people have this ability to be engaged pretty much with the role and to look forward to the future role. How many people demonstrate problem solving skills? How many people are there who are adaptable, carry a growth mindset? So these are combinations of knowledge, skills, and more importantly, the innate abilities of an individual. So these are key metrics. Based on that, we look at high potential. Performance is one. Traditionally, like Nitin said, performance was one of the key metrics, but in new age, performance is one. And knowledge and skill is another metric that people will look at. Given that knowledge and skill is pretty much there in people, there is a gap, but you will look at the innate talents of individuals. How can we help them identify innate talents and judge potential of an individual about what will they do in future if they are to be given promoted for a role or assign any specific promotion or something which justifies their potential within the organization. So that's my take on it.
Thank you, Abhishek, and thank you, Nitin, for sharing this, the high potential role and what does it mean in corporate landscape. Uh, uh, Nitin, from HR director's perspective, what role do structured coaching and mentorship play in running high potential, in nurturing high potential employees?
Great question, Neelam. Um, I would say, see, we have to look at lot of examples available. Let's say, take an example of any sport, cricket. So many times we see young talent bursting onto the scene who are considered high potential, but not everybody becomes a Sachin Tendulkar or a Brian Lara.
Yeah.
Right.
The difference, the difference, of course, a huge difference is in the skills, but at times, I would say uh, it a lot depends on how they have been nurtured. So, a coach and a mentor actually helps the individual or the organizations nurture their talent and realize their full potential. Of course, both of them have different roles. The manager also has a role. A lot of other factors are also there. But to me, even as a matter of personal experience, I always put a lot of emphasis on these two aspects, and I'm so happy to see many of the organizations also going on that route and hiring external coaches and mentors, which is like a major investment, just to make sure that the high potential that we identify realize their potential. Because having potential is one thing, but ultimately achieving that goal is another, definitely.
Right.
Right.
So I put a
Thank
lot
you.
of emphasis there.
Yeah, thank you. So,
Nice.
as Nitin has mentioned that like organization looking for coaches and from the outside and hiring the coaches. You, Abhishek, you specialize in strength-based coaching. How does this approach accelerate the growth of high potential employee?
So, Neelam, if you look at the term strengths-based coaching, so strength is also a way of identifying and nurturing the potential. Because what is strength? Strength is the way the individual naturally thinks, feel, and behave. So, what we do when we apply strength-based coaching as a methodology, we understand first of all, identify their natural talents, what they have, and then we teach them, make them master that how can they play on their unique abilities. So I've identified that this individual has a potential. Then what potential this individual has? Now how can I nurture that individual on that potential? So this is what strength based coaching does to an individual. So what we do, we help employees gain self awareness, which leads to increase their confidence, their decision making ability, understanding that role particularly, and how will they apply themselves in those roles. So for example, let's say uh, why is something which a lot of people know, but strength based coaching, especially people who have high potential talent, what it does for them, it actually simplifies how will they apply, how will they do justice to their potential. Like Nitin mentioned example of cricket. So a lot of people have a lot of talent, but they are not able to leverage it when it's required because maybe a lack of awareness about what is their innate potential. How will they apply themselves in those scenarios? So this is what strength based coaching does to a high potential: identifies what their potential means to them, defines them, makes it simplify, gives it a definition, and creates a very clear action plan about how will they apply their potential in whatever they are doing in their life. So this is what strength based coaching just accelerates the growth of high potential employees.
Okay. Thank you, Abhishek. So let's now deep dive into coaching and mentorship. Coaching and mentorship are often used interchangeably, but they serve different purposes.
Right.
What are the key differences, and how can organization effectively integrate both? So both of you, I would like to throw this question to both of you. This question to both of you. So anyone would like to answer it first? Go ahead.
Nitin, please.
Thank you. Uh, I was smiling when you were asking this question because, as an HR person, it really pains me when people use that interchangeably. Because coaching and mentoring, there may have been overlaps, but they are two different terms very different approaches and a completely different purpose for me. So I get reminded of those confusions when people use sales and marketing interchangeably. The same way it is the case with coaching. So for
Right.
me, coaching is for a specific skill improvement, while
Right.
a mentoring would be more generic.
Right.
Coach may or may not be from the same profession, may or may not have achieved those heights, or may not have gone through those experiences, but still has a specific role. For example, if I want to lose weight, I will hire a diet coach. If I want to improve my fitness, I will hire a trainer.
That's
Specific, time bound, defined goal, and I want to achieve that. And that's the purpose.
right.
Involvement and engagement with a mentor is at a very broad scale. A mentor can see probably not just my current horizon, he or she can see maybe two or three horizons beyond that. So
Right.
they have been there, they have done that, and today they are guiding the mentees how to achieve or how to go about it by focusing on mindset. We call it growth mindset, we call it positivity, we call it optimism. We may the skills may be different, but
Mm.
ultimate goal is exploring those avenues for the individual who's investing their own time as well in this mentorship. So to me, yes, there could be some overlaps. For example, both require feedback, both would definitely have a goal, but goals would be different. But to me, in nutshell, coaching is short-term specific assignment, while a mentor, even if it is time out, it will be much longer term, looking at a broader picture, helping the individuals think big and achieve big, rather than
Mm.
short-sightedness on only on one particular skill. Both equally important. Don't take me wrong. Both very important. However, both very different at the same time as well. We can take the example of it's a IPL season. We cannot stay
Yeah.
away from that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm an avid cricket fan, so my examples
Me
always
too.
revolve around cricket. You look at the teams and they have a coach and they have a mentor. We need to
Yeah.
learn from them. Coach is
Mm.
only in focusing only on, for example, a batting skill or a fielding skill or a bowling skill, while
Right.
mentor is addressing those temperament things.
Hmm.
How do we perform in a pressure situation? So,
Yeah.
absolutely different role.
Yeah. Thank
Coexist,
you.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Nitin,
Nitin.
sharing your
Thank you,
perspective.
Nitin.
Right.
Thanks a lot for highlighting this to all our viewers. Listen the thoughts of a subject matter expert, and that's how there's a clear difference between coaching and mentorship. And I know it pains when people use this interchangeably, the way people use marketing and sales interchangeably. They are absolutely two different things. Yeah. So, Neelam, just I completely agree with Nitin, and thank you, Nitin, once again for highlighting these important points. For me, there are three parameters to differentiate between coaching and mentoring. So, one is focus and objective. Like Nitin said, coaching is absolutely goal-oriented and performance-driven. That's very, very specific skill, behavior, and has measurable outcome. Mentorship is relationship-based, development-driven. It is long-term career guidance, personal development. These are the objectives. This is the focus and objective. Second, when we practice coaching and mentoring, there's a difference in approach and interaction. So a coach will use powerful questions, provide feedback, and help individual unlock their potential. However, a mentor will share experience. Like Nitin gave example of IPL. So if you look at Delhi Capitals team has Himang Badani as coach, who has learned coaching. Being a cricketer, he then learned coaching. Then they have Kevin Peterson as mentor. So let's say what a mentor does. Mentor shares experience, offers advice, and provides insights based on their own journey. So that's second difference. Third is expertise and role. Like Nitin said, the coach does not need to be an expert and the coach and but in the coach's domain, but should be skilled in coaching methodologies. Therefore we see a lot of in cricket, continuing, because I am also a cricket fan like you, Nitin. So there have been coaches, there have been top class cricket players, superstars. They have not been good coaches, but there have been coaches like Dave Watmore, an example, who was like transformative cricket coach. He was obviously understood the subject, but he was more professional in terms of understanding coaching methodologies, and that's how he was able to transform a lot of teams. Then, if you look at mentors usually are senior professionals with deep domain or industry experience. So these are three key differentiators in terms of mentorship and coaching: focus and objective, approach and interaction, and expertise and role. So that's the answer to your question, Neelam. Sorry, long answer
Thank
to a
you.
short.
Thank you so much. And we also have an insights about cricket and who's coaching who. Thank you.
We would need a longer conversation for that.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. I can I
maybe
can
also
understand.
maybe a game together.
I won't mind.
Uh, So let me put another question to you, Nitin. So implementing high potential coaching program in not is not without challenges. It's what are some key obstacles companies face and how can they overcome them?
Hmm. A very relevant question in today's scenario because talent has always been very important. But if you look at today's VUCA environment, talent has increasingly become the biggest differentiator. People who can perform uh, to their best in this VUCA environment, in this environment of ambiguity, uncertainty, are the people whom we look at as a leader. So, as an organization, if we have to focus on the challenges, I would say twofold. One is sometimes it is organization and leaders' short-sightedness as well. We become too fixated on fixing the weaknesses of the people. We only focus on what is lacking, what is an area of development. We call it by different names, but ultimately we're focusing on improving the weaknesses. So to me, we're trying to convert an individual into something which he is not, a very different. Now, I'm not saying that we should not work on our weaknesses, but my approach generally is marry the aspiration and the individual's competencies, current competencies, to what they can achieve in future in the same domain. So, uh, Sachin Tendulkar, again, coming back to him, if Sachin Tendulkar was pushed into becoming a bowler only just because his weakness was bowling, would not have yielded those kind of results.
Right.
Second challenge is more about at times it's budgetary constraints as well. But keeping that aside, second challenges is more about finding those who believe in people, believe in the future, who are, the objectives of the organization should match with the individual's objectives. When individual also has an same aspiration which the leader or the organization wants from them, so matching the two at the right pace at the right time is another challenge. For example, there would be baby boomers who may not want a quick growth or may not want as fast a growth versus a Gen Z guy, or I know what they are calling the latest guys as well, the millennials, the Gen Zs. There are so many names these days.
Mhm.
So it has to be a mixed approach. It has to be a situational, it has to be a people centric approach, it has to be an individual driven approach. I learned that actually from one of my previous organization, where my manager had three reportees, myself and two other people, and all three of us had a very different leadership style, and our managers actually managed all three of us in a very different manner. You don't get there's don't I mean, I was very lucky to have that kind of manager, and he ultimately ensured that all three of us had a growth,
Mm.
which what we called a growth, but we also perceived it as a growth. So understanding that people dynamics of this coaching and mentoring piece is also equally important. Abhishek, you want to add something to it? Would be
No, I
welcome.
think I completely agree with you, Nitin. I don't have anything to add. Yeah, absolutely. I second what you said. These are real, practical, relevant insights. Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree with what you mentioned, Nitin, that we should not be, focusing on weaknesses rather than, looking out where you're good at and where can progress it. And very good example of Sachin as well.
Hmm. And Rohit
So,
Sharma also.
and Rohit Sharma also, yes. So now I would like to ask you, Abhishek, can you share success stories where strength-based coaching transformed a high potential employee into a high performing leader?
So yeah, so I'll give you an example, Neelam. So I got a chance to work with a high potential manager, and the problem statement was that the high potential manager is struggling with execution despite having strong strategic thinking skills and abilities. So then, as a first step, what we did, we discovered that individual strengths, because that's the filter that we use to understand a human being. So then, when I looked at her strengths, I found that three strengths are in strategic thinking domain, which are futuristic, ideation, and strategic. So instantly, I was able to understand that why it is happening to her. But my job was to tell her how can she apply herself really, really well and maximize her strengths. So the fundamental approach of strength-based philosophy and strength-based coaching, Neelam, is that we say that, okay, how can you maximize what you have without changing yourself. But in the process, while you're maximizing yourself, you have to learn how to manage what you don't have without pushing yourself to convert it into your strength. You'll have to figure out your own way of managing it. If you don't do that, then you will not get an opportunity to maximize what you have. So in such case, when I looked at her top three strength, futuristic, ideation, and strategic, and these are very, very strong strategic thinking strengths. So I realized that she's someone who really enjoys strategy, data, numbers, all thinking. So for her, like if she does not spend 45 minutes in a day thinking something new, it is like her day is incomplete for her. So, and that's something which she really, really enjoys. The problem statement which was articulated to me by the sponsor of the program was the challenge in the execution. So what I did, I talked about two aspects of strength: basement of strength and balcony of strength. So I told her that while your futuristic and ideation strengths gives you ability to contribute significantly in generating new ideas, but the basement of these are becoming a bottleneck. And if you don't manage your basements, your strengths will not look like strengths, and you'll never be able to leverage your strengths, and you always struggle. So by doing that, the simple action point to manage basement was that learn to delegate, because execution does not come naturally to people who are too good in strategic thinking, because they analyze, they think quite a lot. But we told her how to manage this without and delegation was a simple methodology which we taught her, and maybe how can she delegate effectively and rely more on team's execution, focus more on doing consistent reviews of her team. So this was very simple insight, as I'm saying, but the idea is that through this process, I was able to create moments of self-realization for her. So she accepted what she is completely and understood that how basements and balcony can be managed. And within a year, people in her environment started seeing changes. And as I speak to you today, she is now spearheading a new business vertical where strong execution is required. So she is applying her strategic thinking abilities really, really to the fullest, enjoying herself really well. But she knows how to manage what she is not really, really good at. She doesn't bother much about fixing execution, and in the process not being able to do strategic thinking, which comes quite naturally. So this is an example of coaching a high performing, high potential individual manager in an organization.
Thank you, Abhishek, for your insight. So now I would like to bring you another question. As an organization invest in coaching and mentorship, but alignment with the business goals is also very crucial. So
Right.
how can leaders ensure these programs drive measurable impact to the organization? So anyone can choose to answer, Nitin and Abhishek.
Nitin, I'd like to listen to sponsor stakeholders' view in this. How do you? Because as somebody who is offering coaching programs to the organization, we have a very fixed answer to this. But I'd like to learn from you. Your insights from you.
Actually, Neela, thank you so much for giving me that opportunity, Abhishek. I was really listening to how you use the coaching and almost got reminded of few of the instances where I have also used Strength Finder to really change the course of somebody's career. but
Right.
maybe that would be for another day. Coming back to your question, Neelam, alignment with the organization objectives is actually a must requirement. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. Because as long as we have that alignment, we will always get the sponsorship. I mean, to be honest, we need that sponsorship from the top. We
Yeah.
need that. We need the money. We need the finances. It's an investment. It should not be treated as an expense to me.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's an investment where you're investing in only in one talent. So these are not generally not a group assignment. It is one-to-one assignment.
Right.
How we manage it in our organization is, our starting point always is the talent reviews. How
Mm.
and where is our talent placed, and then what are the, so we match, we do the individual assessment, and we do the role assessment as well, in the
Mm.
sense that we identify what are the critical roles for each of the critical role. Then we go on and define the succession pipeline
Right.
within the organization that we have. And wherever we have critical gaps or gaps in those critical roles succession planning, that becomes an urgent and burning need for the organization for the year, that has to be prioritized. So once that gets included in the organizational priority, sponsorship happens automatically. That's how I get leaders buy-in to then invest on the talent who can then take up the critical role, or who can become a successor to the current incumbent of the critical role. So it's a full process that gets started with talent reviews and position reviews, and ends up in having a strengthened succession pipeline. Accordingly, my measure of success for such initiatives is always, like in this case, the goal was, were we able to strengthen the succession pipeline? So end of the year or end of the assignment period, did we see an improvement? Did we see more number of people getting into that succession pipeline of those critical roles? So that becomes my uh, measure of success as well.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Nitin.
you, Nitin.
Hope
Abhishek?
I could answer the
Yeah.
question.
No, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Nitin. Yeah, it's a great learning. So like Neelam, we work with various organizations. So there are organizations like Nitin's organization, and they have very well defined, structured process. So that's
Mm.
what a lot of organizations do to align their coaching and mentorship programs with business goal. And like Nitin said, it is an investment. It is not an expense. We must do it.
Right.
So the simple process that we suggest to the organization who do not have such process, and maybe they are taking up coaching for the first time. So we say, okay, start with clear objectives. Why do you want to do it? So is there any you want to create leadership pipeline, succession planning process? Why do you want to create? Then leadership buy-in. Create leadership buy-in, because that is very critical. That leadership team who's sponsoring the program is also aligned with what you are doing after you have defined the objectives. Then, like Nitin said, how do you measure the impact? So there are a couple of simple things that we also suggest. We say, okay, have performance metrics. Like Nitin said, the coaching is very for a specific objective. So what are those objectives, and why are you appointing coaches in the organization? Key outputs which we can look at is few performance metrics if they are predefined. Otherwise, employee net promoter score, if there is an improvement that has happened. So let's say if I'm a leader leading a department, what is my if there is a trust index report, or there is employee net promoter score exercise that's happening, so is there any improvement before, after? Engagement scores and career progression. These are few metrics that can be used to make sure that whatever investments you are making in the process of coaching, deliver some ROI. These are few things. By keeping this as a checklist before designing the coaching program, before implementing it, an organization can align it with business goals and drive measurable impact.
Right. Thank you, Abhishek, and thank you very much for Nitin for your sharing your insight. Now that brings me to another question. As in, leadership plays a pivotal role in shaping workplace culture. So, how can leaders foster a culture of mentorship within their organization? So, Nitin, if you would like to answer this question.
Sure. Uh, there are multiple ways actually a leader can influence the culture. First of all, I'm a firm believer that culture is always top driven.
Right.
So a leader does always cast a shadow.
Right.
So acting as a role model is the first thing that the leaders can do. Acting as a role model, as a coach, as a mentor to the to other employees, to those who need that kind of an assignment, setting up that as a priority in the organizational objectives, including that as a metrics when I am judging my team's performance. For example, if I'm a leader, I'm assuming that we're talking about people who are managing manager of managers, who have teams, huge teams below them. They are the ones who influence the culture for the whole team, and they should be holding their managers accountable to their people development pieces as well. And we use a very I would say very objective metrics to that, that how many people have got promoted in that organization. A lot of credit goes to the manager as well for developing them. Also, the strength or the going back to the succession pipeline, how strong is the succession pipeline created in that
Hmm.
organization. I keep telling the leaders that, if you have a ready-made talent who can replace you, that's when you will get promoted as well. So
Right.
that mindset. Suddenly, the other piece, what I called is talent multipliers, and I would define that loosely as people who are willing to export talent. As a leader, I should not be blocking my individual's growth and development opportunities. I should be acting as the matchmaker. I know talent of my people, and then as a leader, I have more visibility to the opportunities around the organization. So at times, I encourage them to become the matchmaker, matching the right talent with the right opportunity. For
Hmm.
example, in one of my previous organization, there was this guy in a testing environment. It was an IT organization. He was a tester. If you know IT industry, testing job, program testing job is almost like an entry level job,
Yeah.
and it's pretty monotonous job. They are written scripts. You just need to fill that up and documentation is very important, but it's not something which will be highly creative like a coder job. There was this guy who was kind of average performer, but otherwise versatile in as a personality. His managers would keep complaining that, no, I'm not getting the best performance out of it. We had a chat. I had actually a informal chat with the guy and realized that guy is confused. He's not fully committed to that role, and therefore I encouraged him to take up the strength finder test. I have been a big fan of this test, and then what the individual himself realized after doing the test. I'm not a strength coach, strength-based coach. Abhishek, please, pardon me for that. But I'm not a coach. But I could just guide him, and then he realized that testing is not his forte. He changed the course of his career, moved into more creative roles like comms. He moved into actually marketing communication, and today he's doing so well. And he's always thankful to me and that manager as well. So in that example, individual's manager was open to exporting the talent to others, and the organization was also willing to give them an opportunity. So we are talking about a massive change. Of course, it will not be that massive a change always, but it will still be, if we have to create those development opportunities, we have to retain our best talent. We have to provide them those kind of opportunities to grow personally as well as professionally. So that's where I feel that an open mindset from the leader side, or what they are promoting in the organization, because whatever they permit gets promoted in the organization, and that's where I feel that leader mindset is a leader's role in the organization is very important.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Absolutely. In
Thank
fact,
you.
I completely agree, Nitin, because what happens, team members in an organization imitate their leaders in everything that they do. If there is a culture at top, and just people just come to know about it, that there is a leader who mentors people, other team members, within the team starts imitating that immediately. They may not be accurate, and that is not the ask here, but it starts happening. And second point, which you talk about, that are people ready to export or become matchmakers, and if that starts happening within the organizations, it's a great thing to happen in an organization, because many times, managers do not allow their talent to go to other departments, and do not think of career progression of those individuals based on their potential, their inclination. And it's a great example that you gave there. Okay, somebody who was doing a role of testing, you used very right intentions, and in the process you used strength finder as a methodology and guided that individual. Now that individual is enjoying today, and must be really, really thankful to you that you brought this change. And also the manager who was willing to open that's very rare, but wherever that has happened, it has become really transformative for individuals who have been part of this process. Thank you for sharing this example.
Thank you. Thank you
My
for
pleasure.
sharing this example, Nitin. And taking from your example, what you shared, I would like to ask Abhishek. So every employee has a unique strength. So
Right.
how can organization leverage strengths to create personalized development journeys for high potential?
Right. So, Neelam, very simple answer to this. So, we identify high potential based on the methodology used by the organization. Now, so why these organizations these individuals are going through this program is very well defined when we set the objective. Now, how will their potential be leveraged is something which is done by strength-based development as a process. So, what strength-based development does, it aligns development plans with individuals' unique strengths rather than one-size-fits-all approach. So, let's say as coaches, when we practice, we might be having experience of our own experience of our own life, our own career journey. But when we start working with individuals, right, it becomes very customized to that individual's needs. So that's how organizations leverage strengths to create personalized development journeys. Second, what happens once you have individual development plans for employees ready, which is based on strengths, and it is uh, in application. That time, high potential can also be paired with mentors based on their strengths and the areas that they want to explore. So by this, coaching and mentoring can also go hand in hand. So these are simple steps which an organization can do to leverage strengths to create personalized development plan journeys for high potential employees. It is very simple. Look at strengths, create an action plan, that how will this individual apply strengths based on the potential that has been identified by an internal process of the organization. So why and how combined together creates a very solid action plan. So that's how it works.
Thank you, Abhishek. So now I will move forward. So uh, for the future of talent development. So with the rise of AI and digital transformation in learning. So I would like to ask this question to both of you. How do you see the future of coaching and mentorship evolving? Anyone would
You want to
choose
take the
to?
lead, Abhishek?
Yeah, I
I have
can.
been taking too much lead.
No, no, thank you. Thank
Not-
you. Thanks a lot. So absolutely, Neelam. So this question, how do we see future of coaching and how does AI impact this entire process? So if you look at, so one is very clear that AI will not be able to replace coaches, but AI is a great enabler in the entire coaching process. So for example, let's say as coaches, we have to do a lot of repetitive tasks. So what AI does is actually it eases out coaches' life and it enhances human AI collaboration. So for example, a lot of repetitive tasks can be done by AI. So for example, let's say if you look at, there are some AI tools which help you summarize the coaching session and create an action plan, which is a documentation part of the coaching. So that's an enablement to the coach. There are AI tools which helps in scheduling and calendarizing the administrative aspect of coaching, which is a big task for coaches to schedule their calendar. So let's say if a coach is mad with 15 people, now how that schedule. So there are tools which integrate your calendar with the coach's calendar if you also have access to them, and then it automatically fixes the one-to-one coaching. So that's a great enabler. It reduces a lot of back and forth of people of transaction, and it saves a lot of time. So this is where AI can help. Not exactly AI, but like we do a lot of coaching in virtual mode now. So this was not happening before COVID. So there's nothing to do with AI here, but this is a very fine change. So AI is going to be an enabler. It will ease out coaches' life, and maybe right so far what we've seen is that it has helped reduce repetitive tasks, and I see that in future also it will make things easier for coaches in making sure their administrative repetitive tasks are done smoothly. So that's how I see AI's impact in the overall coaching. Human will be required for sure, I feel so.
Yes. Nitin,
What do
your
you think?
perspective.
Fully agree with Abhishek, and he has very beautifully highlighted both the points which even I was sharing, that I was about to share. That first of all, I'm a big believer in technology, and now I'm broadening, like Abhishek mentioned, not just AI. Let's broaden it to overall digital transformation that we have seen probably fast track in last 3 years. That whole digital transformation technology piece, as an HR professional, as a coach, we have to embrace it. We have no option. We cannot say no, I will survive without the technology world today. No, that's not possible. So, but how do I adopt it? But the second and more critical point is that human element cannot be ignored at all in these assignments. You cannot get human out of human resources, then it will only remain resources, right? This is my favorite quote. So
Yeah.
what we do, and as Abhishek pointed out, we can always, the best combination to me would be transactional piece gets outsourced to technology, whether it is AI or any other technology or robotics or something else comes up. Today we're talking about machine learning, god knows what will come in 3 years later, and still retain the strategic piece of it, retain the human piece of it, all those strategic tasks, to stay with human, to stay with people who can bring in that value, that advantage, especially in a coaching and a mentoring scenario where the experiences cannot be the human experience, the experiences of a, let's say, somebody who has spent 30 years in the organization. Ours is an organization which is, we are very lucky to have people who have worked with the organization for 50 years, 40 years, 45 years. No technology can, uh, replicate that kind of an experience or learnings that these guys would have. It's so much intangible that I don't think we can replicate that. So technology and human element definitely would coexist. What we can, as Abhishek mentioned, using the digital presentations as a medium, digital media as a channel, we can further the benefits of mentoring and coaching. For example, our reach becomes wider.
Yeah.
you know Sitting in Delhi, I can coach somebody who's, let's say, in a somebody a professional who's in a tier 2 or tier 3 city. I don't need to
Right.
travel there. It saves me time. Same day I can coach today students of an institute which is in, let's say, Patna, as well as Bangalore, as well as, India is a big country.
Yeah.
if
Hmm.
if if I have to cover so many miles physically, that would require a lot of time. So to me, like Abhishek was saying, it's an enabler, AI and technology both, but human element remains as it is. It becomes even more important when we bring in this technology. How to use the technology and how do we use the technology going forward would be the differentiator in days to come.
Right. Very,
Thanks.
very well said. And I am also very well aligned with both of you and the thought which you have shared. Uh, AI definitely, or technology definitely, is going to help us and support us for human, and going to be going in line with the human resources, of course. As you rightly said, that we cannot remove resources from human. So that brings us to the end of this session. And what a insightful discussion we had. Thank you, Nitin and Abhishek, for
Thank you,
sharing
Vinay.
your expertise and practical strategies for accelerating high potential growth through coaching and mentorship. To our audience, thank you for joining us today. If you found this session valuable, make sure you follow Strength Masters for more discussions on leadership and strengths based development. If you have any question, please reach out to us on LinkedIn or drop us an email at neelam@strengthmasters.com. That brings us to the end of today's session. Stay tuned to our next session, and until then, keep investing in your strengths and unlocking your potential. Have a great day, and everyone.
Thank you
Goodbye.
for
Thank you.
hosting us, Neelam. Thank you.
Thank
You've
you.
been a lovely
Thank
host.
you, Nitin. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Nitin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. Nice meeting.
Thanks.
Take care.